Hey, this is Mr. Barr, and this is edulesson part 1 for 1 and 2 step equations. So we're going to start with 2 equations here. And both of these equations, you might be able to do them in your head. I would look at this. I'm trying to find out what would the number have to be for x to make this work. Well, is it 4? Is 4 plus 4 10? No. Is it 5? 5 plus 4 is 10? No. Is it 6? 6 plus 4 equals 10. It is 6 right here. And over here, some number minus 3 is 16. 20 minus 3 is 17. 19 minus 3 is 16. So I could do this in my head. But what I'm going to do instead is this. On this one, I ask myself, who is the variable? The variable is x. Who is bugging the x? The 4 is bugging the x. What is the 4 trying to do? It's trying to add. How do I fight a positive 4 and adding 4? I subtract 4 from both sides. I get out my red marker of death and destruction. Do I have a red marker? Yeah, I do have a red marker of death and destruction. These guys are canceling out. And what am I left with? I'm left with x equals 6, which is exactly what I thought it should be. Over here, I ask myself, who is the variable? The variable is x. Who is bugging the x? Well, this 3 is doing that negative 3. What's the 3 trying to do? It's trying to subtract. It's a negative. How do I find a negative 3? With a positive 3. So I'm going to add positive 3 to both sides of the equation. I get out my red marker of death and destruction. Goodbye, goodbye. And what am I left with? I'm left with x equals 19, which is what I thought it should be. I'm going to go have you practice that for a moment, and then we'll come back. The magical word is marker. M-A-R-K-E-R. Marker. Welcome to part 2. We're going to do a couple more one-step equations. So let me give you 2 equations here. We're going to go with 3x equals 12. We're also going to go with x over 2 equals 8. So 3 times some number equals 12. Well, what would that number be? It'd be 4, right? 3 times 4 equals 12. And over here, some number divided by 2 is 8. 10 divided by 2? All right, Mr. Woodgrift was just in here talking to me, so I kind of forgot where I was at. I think it was over here. So some number divided by 2 is 8. That'd be 16 divided by 2 is 8. So yeah, I can do them in my head, but what about when they get more complex? Well, let's follow through the same steps that we did up here. Who is the variable? X. Who's bugging the x? 3. What's the 3 trying to do? Multiply. How do I find multiplication? Division. What would I like to do? I'd like to divide both sides by 3. Red marker of death and destruction. The 3's cancel out. What am I left with? I'm left with x equals 4. Which is what I thought it should be. Over here, who's the variable? X. Who's bugging the x? 2. What's the 2 trying to do? The 2 is trying to divide the x. How do I fight division? I fight it with multiplication. So what I'm going to do is multiply both sides by 2. So I'm going to multiply both sides of this by 2. I get out my red marker of death and destruction. These cancel out. And what am I left with? I'm left with x equals 16. Magic word is desk. D-E-S-K. All right, go do the practice. Now what we're going to do is we're going to combine the 2 one-step equations to make a 2-step equation. So you're going to start with an add or subtract step, and then you're going to do a multiply, divide step. So let's do a quick little flow map. Add or subtract. Multiply, divide. Those are your two steps. So you're going to start with an add or subtract step and then a multiply or divide step. So if I have something like this, 2x minus 5 equals, let's go with 15. I don't go right to the variable. I start a little bit away from the variable. So I look at this. Okay, who's the variable? X. Who's bugging the X? The 2 and the 5. Well, who should I fight first? The 5 or the 2? I want to fight the 5 first. Well, what's that 5 doing? It's a negative 5, so I'm going to fight it with a positive 5. So I'm going to go plus 5 to both sides, plus 5, plus 5, red marker of death and destruction. 2x equals 20. Who is the variable? X. Who's bugging the X? The 2. What's the 2 trying to do? Multiply. How do I fight multiplication? Division. So I'm going to divide both sides by 2. And red marker of death and destruction. X equals 10. Let's do, you know what? Why don't you go and practice? No, let's do one more example here. Let's go with x over 4 plus 2 equals 5. Who's the variable? X. Who's bugging it? Well, the 4 and the 2. Who do I need to fight first? I need to fight the 2 first. That's a positive 2, and I'm going to fight it with a negative 2. Minus 2 minus 2. That'll give me x over 4 equals 3. Red marker of death and destruction. Who is the variable? X. Who is bugging the X? The 4. What is the 4 trying to do? Divide. How do I fight division? Multiplication. Multiplying both sides by 4. Red marker of death and destruction. X equals 12. All right, and the magical word on this one is the number 3, spelled out though, T-H-R-E-E, 3. It's time for part 4. I'm going to give you the magic word right now. The magic word is IXL, like the website IXL. So here's one weird type of two-step equation that IXL is going to give you. And it looks like this. It looks like 9 and I know the flow chart I gave you told you to add or subtract first and then multiply or divide. Well, this is the one thing, at least for this lesson, that you're going to do in the opposite direction or opposite order. I'm going to start by multiplying both sides by 10. Red marker of death and destruction. That gives me 90 equals z plus 45. And then I'm going to subtract the 45 from both sides. And that's going to give me, once again, red marker, 90 minus 45 is 45. So this is the one weird case. Multiply, then add or subtract. And I already gave you the magic word for this one. It was IXL. And I think that's the last part of that. Thank you for watching this edu lesson. I'll see you later.